What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks. And we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks. Cause True Talks, alright? Let's get straight right into it. Bruh. So I know I apologize that I've been, gone for a little bit. I've been gone for, for a couple of days, obviously as you could see. Location. I changed the location a little bit, so I'll be here for a while. You already know. So y'all, I know it's a new change, but y'all gonna have to get used to it. You already know. You're gonna have to get used to it. But let's just go straight. Let's go straight right into it, man. Basically, you already know last night we had a couple of games. We know that game 5 will be played today with the Clippers and the Mavs, and obviously I'm gonna do a breakdown as you've seen. My last breakdown that I did was game 2, right? So 3 and 4, the Clippers obviously came back. And, we'll talk about that more in depth after tonight's game. When we do a breakdown, we'll talk about what's been transpiring, the key notes, and, the adjustment, especially with the small ball lineup and all of that. But, this not the time now. Let's move past that. You already know. So we're going to talk about, the Nets. The Nets, obviously, they advanced finally. Well, not finally, it's 5 games, but, finally, since the Bucks have been waiting, since they swept the Heat, I'm going to talk about, obviously, later down the line, they play Saturday, the Bucks and the Nets, so I'll talk about, the series preview and all that type of stuff, because that's obviously what Elite looks like. But, the Nets beat the Celtics, and they beat them in 5. Obviously, the one game that they won was a game that Tatum dropped 50, so that's basically letting you know that you're going to have to snap in order to beat this team. Like, you're going to have to really snap, like a 50-piece snap. And that was 50-piece with ability. It wasn't like a 50-piece all paint. You know what I'm saying? A 50-piece with ability, mid-range, pull-ups, step back threes, all of the arsenal. The whole works. The whole works. So, that's what's at hand. That's what's at hand. And that's what I try to tell people. Like that's actually what's at hand. So, let's obviously, let's just look into what we saw, in terms of the Nets, what we saw that's positives, what we saw that might be a negative, anything. We'll just kind of break down what was transpiring in this series. You already know the Nets, like I said, they advanced and they beat them last night in terms of the Celtics. And that big 3 is really a big 3. Like, come on now. So let's go into the context, because I give it that context. Let's go straight right into it, boy. So you already know, like I said, the Nets obviously beat the Celtics, a gentleman's sweep in 5. I feel for Tatum. Obviously, they were hobbled. Kemba didn't play the last 2 games, game 4 and 5. Same with Robert Williams, the man who got 9 blocks. Like his defense, his spring ability, his athleticism is elite, right? Top tier. So obviously that does hinder. Then you obviously got the fact that Jaylen Brown didn't even play a game. So obviously, like, these things are factors into what makes it even more tougher for the Celtics and more tougher for Tatum. But Tatum didn't back down. Tatum didn't just give up and everything like that. He actually said, you know what? At the end of the day, this is what Elite looks like. I'm going to perform. And I'm going to try to the end. So obviously, right, when you look at it from that perspective, you have to just understand that, Tatum is, he's a superstar, man. So obviously, it's crazy. At one point in time, they were actually discussing, is who's better, Pascal or Tatum and stuff like that. Like, you got to have an eye for the game, and you got to know when certain things are cap and certain things are obviously like, okay, this makes sense. You can't just, listen to whatever media is saying and then just ride with it as if that's what the law is, and that's what IQ is. It's not, right? You have to have a real understanding and just an eye for the game, right? So if you had an eye for the game, like I've been said from time, like Tatum is someone who I already knew was going to be elite. His first summer league game, he already had a game winner off of what? It was a step back or a dribble pull up at the mid range. I think it was a step back. So, I already knew, and even before that, you could already see his ability. So this is not something obviously to try and, harp on this player versus this player, but we just got to understand, like, Tatum is someone who, like, to get 50 on the big 3, like, that's and win the game too. Like, he's already different. He's already been stamped. He's been having one hell of a season, you know what I'm saying? And then COVID obviously affected and stunted his season because he probably would have even better numbers and more efficiency if it wasn't for that, right? The way he started the year was elite, like I've been said before. So, COVID did affect him and all of that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, during this playoffs, during this series, you know what I mean? He ramped it up. He had games where he struggled, obviously, because they're double teaming and, they're gapping and trapping. They did a lot of switch everythings, but people are in the gaps. People are like, it's not just like a Claire Island. Sometimes it was, a lot of times it wasn't, right? So these are things like especially for the main player, like you're always gonna have defensive schemes and different things to kind of neutralize them always. So the fact that he even got 50 in a game and had, and carried for one game, that's something that at the end of the day, like stuff like that, when you see Dame, like stuff like that, when you see stuff like that, you're like, okay, you tip your hat off because at the end of the day, they don't die. They fight to the end, right? They fight to the end. They keep trying. So when you look at that, I was always looking at Tatum. I was looking for that from Tatum, right? And I saw that. And, obviously I don't expect him I thought they were even going to get swept, but the fact that he even won a game is actually a benefit. Like, that's what they always say. If you have a superstar and you're really a true superstar, you got to get one game, at least one game, right? Like you saw AI versus the Lakers in the finals. Give me one game. Have that one elite performance. There's no way you get swept. At least get one. Give you enough confidence to try for the next one. And then, obviously, if you're an outmatched team, you're going to lose the series 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10. But that one superstar can get you one game, and that's what we look for. So, anyways, we move past that and we look at the Nets. The Nets, man, just the all-world ability, the all-world talent, what elite looks like, man. Like, when I mean, like, this trio is just disgusting, you better trust them. Like, there's certain things when you look and you're like, okay, there's certain things that just kind of like, you'd be like, okay, this is what elite looks like. And when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, the trio, like the fact that even in game 4, that they got, 104 points combined as a trio, 104 points combined. Like, y'all don't even understand, man. That's what I was trying to tell people, like, coming into the playoffs beforehand. Like, they only played, 8 games or 9 games in the regular season together. And people were trying to bring that up as if that was going to hinder them and whatever. And I guess that's every reason to, like, obviously, like, generally speaking in history, like, that's not indicative to winning a ring. That's not the recipe for success, right? When it comes to just championships and just, other teams in the past winning. But this team isn't like other teams in the past winning. That's what I try to tell people. These is all world established one-on-one elite players. You have KD, who's arguably one of the greatest or the greatest scorer in NBA history. That's what people have. Especially as efficient as they come, like 3-level score, elite from 3-point. Like, it's just disgusting. You better trust him at 7 foot. Then you got Kyrie, who is arguably, the best skilled or most skilled best skilled point guard in terms of the just the point guard position, right? In NBA history. So you have that at hand. Like, there's no one who finishes with both hands like as ease and with skill as him. No one has the layup package like him. You know what I'm saying? You already know that he's the only point guard that you be seeing actually like elite post-up ability. Like, he literally plays like he's a smaller Kobe. That's how he plays. So when you look at it from that perspective, like, he has the dribble pull-up. He has every all-world ability. Come off screen, catch and shoot, ISO from 3, step back from 3, you know what I'm saying? Post up, right shoulder, left shoulder, shimmy, spin shot, step back shot in the mini, any ability in the mini, come off down screen, curl like a Curry or like a Joe Harris off screens. He could curl and play off ball. Same thing with KD. Then now you add the Harden all-world ability. This is someone who's averaged 35 points per game. Like, no one has averaged something like that. It's been him, Kobe, and and MJ, stuff like that. Like, he's done that type of averages, right? He's done that all off of the through the legs step back or a blow by from the through the legs, to a floater or alley or whatever. Like, all world elite talent. So, like, I know obviously to the naked eye, it's like, I see them ISOing a lot. I see them going one-on-one a lot, often. One-on-one, right? And at the end of the day, you got to look at the Celtics scheme. They did switch everything, and they did force, or they were living with. So a lot of this is what's going to happen. So a lot of teams are going to, one, obviously switch everything. And even if they don't, they're going to be happy with the Brooklyn Nets ISOing. That's going to be the main thing on the line. Force them to ISO or let them ISO, and we live our chances off that because them getting open shots. So as a team who shoots 40% from the field, from the 3-point line, and basically 50% from the field, like you don't want them to have open shots. You don't want Joe Harris to have shots. You don't want Shamet. You don't want Jeff Green. You don't want all these guys, and Jeff Green even being injured is crucial, but you don't want all these shooters to have open shots. You don't want KD, Kyrie, Harden to have any open shots. You want tough shots always. So what's going to happen is the game plan is going to be they're ISOing, let them ISO. Force them to ISO, right? That's going to be the game plan because that's typically what the game plan normally is for every team in general in history is like you want them to ISO. That's better. Our defense can get set. We get rest. We don't have to move and have chaos. Like if we have to choose the type of defense we want to defend ISO because you force them to tough shots and you live with the chances. That's our best chance. That's how teams normally come into it. Coaches normally come into it game plan wise. You would want players to ISO, which is why in playoffs they force you to ISO 9 times out of 10 because that's the least chance of success. But this team isn't history team like I was saying before. This team isn't a team that, especially with my point before that I didn't even finish, is that the 3 guys are all world ability with no limitations. One-on-one supreme basketball players. So when you look at it from that perspective, like they don't need time together OD like that because they have unlimited ability. Most times when you see teams that need time, 1 of the 3 or 2 of the 3 players are limited in some fashion. Whether they can't ISO, they're only off the ball players, so they need some type of rhythm, right? Or you have a team or player that can only ISO and he doesn't play off the ball, doesn't catch and shoot well, or he only likes the paint, right? Then you have another player who only can dominate the paint, and then there's a clash of play style. Like so, having reps, having chemistry, having familiarity is actually something that's beneficial, and that's something that's needed, a requirement to win a ring, right? But this team doesn't need that. All world ability. You're seeing them have already the best offense in NBA history already with actually having limited games together. For you to actually reach that pinnacle and that stratosphere and that echelon already without having that much reps already tells you that just coming together, it's seamlessly because mans could do whatever. ISO, you could, Harden, you want to do your ISO? We could do that. We chilling in the corner in the 45. We could spot up. Oh, we want to curl. You want to give me to KD? We could do that. Want to give it to Kyrie? We could do that. Like every man, like it's elite, man. Every man could do whatever. So, like when you look at it from that perspective, offensively, it was never this need to match. Like that was never a question, especially when Harden says I'm gonna sacrifice, right? And then there's gonna be some games he dictated. Obviously, like you saw in the series, Kyrie struggling. I'm gonna drop 40. Oh, we're not getting the bucket right now. I'm gonna do my ISO, da. That's what's working. And not only that too, a lot of the times they're gonna switch like they did. Tristan Thompson's on me. We run the pick, right? They switch. So then I just ISO. I just kill him. He's gonna eat based off the dictating of what the defensive gives, the defensive team and the schemes give at hand. Based on what the defense does, that's what Harden's gonna do. So he's the third option offensively. Kyrie, KD 1 and 2. Book back and forth 1A, 1B. So when you look at that from that perspective, like exactly what I was saying, teams are gonna force them to ISO, but you have the best ISO players. Like they're like you see them literally beat the Boston Celtics and just win off of straight ISOs. They have ball movement at times, transition stops, and Harris curling and whatever, but majority of the times they could just kill you with just ISO. And for other teams, it's like this is what we want. Yep, get a stop. Yep. But look at what you see with KD. Look at what he's doing. Look at the ability. Look at the ability from Kyrie. Look at the ability from Harden. Like this is it's actually reckless, man. Like when you look at it from that perspective, like bruh, KD before this last game was leading the league in points per game with 34 on 50, 45, 90, 50 something, 45, 90, like elite. What is he doing now? What KD is doing what? He's doing 33 points per game on 55% from the field, 50% from 3, 92% from free throw. Like, look what these guys are doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, look what they're doing. Kyrie, 25 on what, 49.4 from the field, 39% from 3, and 92 from the 3. James Harden, 28 points per game, 56% from the field, 48% from 3, 91 from free throw. Like, every man is doing 50, 40, 90. All three of them. All three of them for the series is doing 50, 40, 90 on 25 plus points per game. Look at that. What's your, like, how can you beat that? Tell me. And y'all were, oh, it's only one ball. And all, like, come on, this cap. It's cap. It was always cap. You can't listen to what the media is saying and run with it as if this law. Like, you have KD averaging 33, you have Harden averaging 28, and you have Kyrie averaging 25. And even Kyrie had a 1-2 struggle game and still shooting 50%, still doing 50, 40, 90. Like, come on now. Like, or 39. He's 39 from the from 3-point line. Whatever. But everybody, like, come on now. 50, 40, 90 basically. Like, do you know how disgusting that is? And then now the role players, you don't have to give them bare shots. And if they're open, you already know that's knockdown. My goodness. So, like, it's just, man, we'll talk about how that obviously plays out in terms of, you know, the Bucks, and we'll go into more in depth later down the line when we do a prediction, probably maybe Friday or, you know, something like that, because they play Saturday. But, you know, like I was saying, it's just elite. It's just what elite looks like, man. It's just different. And they say they don't play defense, and yet you see them play defense. Obviously, Tatum going to work, and obviously a lot of that too. To switch everything, they would have Jeff Green part of these actions, and that obviously hinders them defensively with his injury. We'll see when they said reevaluated in 10 days or whatever, 12 days. But, you know, he's going to be needed for the next series, especially that length, right? You have Jeff Green, Kevin Durant, and you have whoever, Blake or whoever trying. He was cooking Blake. He even cooked KD at some times. They did switch everything. He was cooking Kyrie. Like, Tatum is different, obviously, but can you trust the Bucks? Middleton, you know, Drew Holiday, Giannis, to have Tatum-like ability. Like, that's what's going to have to kill you. Tough shots contested, knockdown, time after time after time after time after time. That's what you're going to have to do. And you start to see what Mans are going to have to do to beat the Brooklyn Nets. The fact that they only lost one game off of a 50, that's what you're going to have to do, a 50. 30 won't cut it, 40 won't cut it, 50. And that's why I'm like, bro, y'all need to understand something, man. This team different, man. And then it's crazy how KD, look what he's doing off of Achilles injury, missing half the year. You know what I'm saying? Missing half the year. They said he's not going to be the same. He's not going to move the same. Oh, he's injury prone. Oh my God. They don't talk about injury prone. Remember what I said, injury prone with Embiid. And I don't wish injury on anybody, but I hate the cap logic. If you're going to bring energy one way, bring energy for all. And that's been don't move the goalposts. You want to bring context for that? Bring context for all. Coming into the playoffs, oh, KD's been injured. He's been banged up. We know Harden is good, but KD, he's always missing. Is he going to be healthy the whole time? Health is the only issue. But you never brought the health issue for Philly. Y'all said they're coming out the East. As if Embiid just be playing. What playoffs has Embiid just played without being banged up? Let's be honest. Right? And I'm not saying, oh, I wish injury on anybody, but bring the same energy. What playoffs has AD played in the playoffs where he hasn't been banged up? They're the ones who barely played. They were injured and they dropped into seedings in terms of Lakers. They didn't say, oh, injury is gonna be a problem. Like, they're still coming out the West. Like, and now look where we at. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy. And then KD's not the best player in the world. How is he not the best player in the world when LeBron as the best player? He can't. You tell him, like, we're gonna talk about that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The footage shows you who's clearly the best player in this league. Not even a discussion. You better trust him. We've seen who the best player in the league is, and it's clearly KD. You already know that. It's clear, very clear, eyes clear. Oh yes, who he's playing with, but you've seen KD do this wherever he went. It's guaranteed. Seamlessly. But anyways, you already know, like, it's just funny, man, how the narratives they change. The narratives change daily. The narratives change monthly. The narratives change, within the game. The narratives it's just crazy, man. It's crazy, man. At the end of the day, we'll see how, we'll see what's going to transpire with the Bucks. I'm going to go further and talk about the Bucks and the Nets in terms of the series later down the line, like I said. But so what it looks like, it's going to be one hell of a series. So, we'll move past that and we'll go on to the next.